Hello and welcome to the Q4 2023 Tech Update. We're so excited you've joined to learn more about what Cognigy has been up to this quarter. Before we start, everyone's going to be in listen-only mode, but we want your questions. So be sure to use the chat window, type in your questions, and we'll either answer them here in real time or we'll follow up with you afterwards. This webinar is going to be recorded, so everyone who signed up is going to get a copy of the recording as a follow-up. So what's been going on? Cognigy this quarter released 64 platform updates, which comprise 21 new features and 43 improvements. We're really excited because much of our work has been focused on generative AI and knowledge AI, as well as with our voice technology. So that's what we're going to focus on. First off, I'll talk about generative AI. We'll follow up with a discussion of knowledge AI. And finally, we'll look at our voice builder experience. So let's get started. Cognigy supports all of the major LLMs and models available on the market today. Given the changing nature of the LLM landscape, Cognigy aims to not go in with a single LLM provider, but to make it easy to use multiple. This quarter, we released support for GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, and Aleph Alpha. Let's see how this plays out in a simple flow. I've created an LLM prompt node, which simply says, "You're a math teacher, help a student understand math concepts." I've selected the Azure GPT-4 model as my model of choice, and now I will ask a simple math question. What are logs? GPT-4 is now coming up with an answer, but note it takes quite a while to produce this response. In a voice context, this would be intolerably long to wait for a response from a customer service bot. However, the response is excellent, but does it need to be this excellent? What we can do is for each LLM prompt, we can choose both the vendor and the model that we provide. So let's do that same thing, this time with GPT 3.5 Turbo. Here I've asked the same question, and the response is much faster, if less comprehensive. But now imagine I want the best of both worlds. I want a GPT-4 response, but I want that high level of responsiveness I got from the 3.5 Turbo model. So what we can do there. In my LLM prompt node, I can choose the streaming options, and I can say stream to output. And I also wanted to change this to the GPT-4 model. So there's still a lag with GPT-4, but what you'll see is that it starts streaming the response back to Cognigy much faster so that we can start sending these outputs to the person on the other side of the phone or chat without making them wait for the entire time. That's one powerful thing to do, of how we can both use a powerful model but also work around some of its limitations. And of course, we could have run this prompt through any of the models that we have available to us here. For this next example, I want to talk about how we can use LLMs to combine the richness of a generative AI-driven interaction with the structured nature of a typical business process. In this example, we have a series of nodes. First is a say node, which just says, "Let's authenticate. I need your customer number, email, and date of birth." We then ask a series of questions. The first question says, "Let's get started with your customer number." We then ask, "What's your email?" Then, "What's your date of birth?" And then finally, we're imagining we take that information and make some API call to verify that user's identity. Let's look at how this would look from a more traditional conversational AI perspective. So I'll say, "Hi." It's going to say, "Let's authenticate. I need your customer number, email, and date of birth. Let's get started with your customer number." I will say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It says, what's your email? What's my date of birth? And then it makes its API request. So incredibly simple stuff that is easy to build and even is less complex than what you could do with basic conversational AI today. But what we've done in each of these question nodes is we've added the room for a fairly significant amount of complexity. So each question node is expecting a particular input type. So when it says, let's get started with your customer number, you'll see here at the top that the question type is number. So we are expecting a number from a user. If they fail to give us a number, we can give a rich natural language context-aware response. So the first thing that we can do is we can choose which large language model we want to use to provide that response. And then we can have a prompt to say, here's how you should deal with an error when the user provides the input that doesn't match what we expect. In this case, a customer number has 8 digits, but the user has given another answer. And you'll see for each of these, it's the same. When we say, what's your email? If I go to the reprompt options, I can choose the LLM I want to work with, and then I give it a way of explaining to the user why their email is not correct. Let's see how this looks like in action. Okay, let's take it from the top. I'll start the conversation and it is going to ask me for my customer number. But imagine I am not sure what that is. So without any real development beyond these simple nodes here, it's going to tell me what a customer number should be and give me some options if I don't know what my customer number is. So maybe this is enough to help me look for it. So I'll enter an 8-digit number. Now it's going to say, what's my email? And I probably know what an email is, but let's just give this a try. So I enter something that's not really an email address. It says, I'm sorry, but that email address doesn't appear to be valid. Can you provide me with a valid email address that we have on file for you? So maybe I can try one more time with the correct response. There we go. What's my date of birth? Maybe I'm just not comfortable saying what my date of birth is. So now it says, I understand you may have concerns about sharing personal information. It gives me some assurances that it's going to use my information correctly. And maybe I'll still be a little bit shy about it. It says, I'm sorry, but we need your full date of birth to properly authenticate your account. So I will relent. All right, and now we imagine we've made the HTTP request here. But the interesting thing about this is from a Flow developer's perspective, the person who's using the Cognigy tool, creating this flow is incredibly simple. But it accounts for a wide range of possible directions the conversation can go, and it allows you for each question node to choose which LLM you want to use to deal with incorrect answers. So you have control of the features that the LLM provides, the performance that the LLM provides, and the cost that the LLM charges to make sure that you are using LLMs the way you want in your customer service interactions. Now I'll turn it over to Thomas, who's going to talk to us about Knowledge AI.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Derek. So now let us together look into our Knowledge AI solution. As you might know, we have released our Knowledge AI feature in the third quarter of this year. And I really recommend you to watch our release webinar, which was published in August, in case you haven't watched it yet. Today, we will fully focus on the highlights on the features we have published in the fourth quarter of this year. So, to do so, let's imagine we are an airline. We are called Cloud Air, and we want to build a bot which can answer all questions based on our travel policies. All right, let's create a store which is called Travel Policy, and let us upload our documents. I will upload documents in the CTEX format. Cognigy CTEX format is our own proprietary format, and this really allows you to upload knowledge which is already split into chunks. And this has the big advantage that you have full control on how you want to chunk and like how the chunks essentially look like after they are ingested. Let me upload 2 documents, and while this uploads, I can quickly show you our docs page. There's a dedicated docs page around our CTEX format, so feel free to check it out. All right, now the knowledge is uploaded, and then the last step, I can now configure my extraction flow, a flow which will cover all the question answering and extraction part, and I will show it in a minute. All right, let's wait a sec. And now we are done. And here we can see that we have created a knowledge store, which is called Travel Policy, and it includes 2 files. The first file includes our travel policy for business passengers, the second one for our economy class passengers. And as you might know, you can also click on the sources, and then you see the content of the sources. You see all the chunks we have ingested. And here we can see this document has 5 chunks, and every chunk contains a question-answer pair. Just for your information, the questions are the same in the business passenger document and in the economy passenger document, only the answers differ. So, for example, the cancellation policy for the business class passengers says that they can cancel prior, like up to 6 hours before the flight, and the economy class passengers can cancel up to 48 hours before the flight's departure. All right, let us now look into our flow. So as we can see here, this flow contains 1 node, and this is the search extract output node. Let us quickly look into what this node does. So this node essentially first performs a search. This means that for the given user input, it will query the knowledge base and return the top K matching chunks. In this case, the top K is set to 5. This means we are returning the top 5 chunks for the given user query out of the knowledge store, which is provided here. All right, and then we store these knowledge chunks inside the input object. Then the extraction is performed. This means we are sending a call to the configured large language model, which includes the user query, and it includes all the found chunks. And we then expect back the extracted answer for the given user query based on the knowledge we have retrieved. And then finally, we are performing the output. This means we are outputting the answer to the user. This node, just for information, also has 2 further modes. So you can also set it to search and extract or to search only, in case you only want to cover the search and extract part with this node, and then configure a different node, for example, the say node, to then output the result. This could make sense, for example, if you want to use further output types, which are only available within the say node. All right. So let us now focus on the new features we have released in Q4. And one of these features is called source tags. And let me explain why we have built this feature. Let's imagine a customer asked the question, what is the cancellation policy? In this case, we could very well run into a conflict. And this is because the knowledge base contains conflicting information. It has the information that some passengers, the business class passengers, can cancel up to 6 hours before the flight. It has the information that some passengers, the economy class passengers, can cancel up to 48 hours before the flight. And this means, yeah, we have, like, even in our very, very, very small knowledge base, we have conflicts. And of course, it's now more difficult for the large language model performing the extraction to really extract the relevant output. Because we are, like, right now not giving any information about, like, if I'm a business class or economy class passenger. I'm just saying what is the cancellation policy. And in order to resolve these conflicts, we have introduced source tags. And these source tags really allow you to provide tags to your search, and only sources with the specified tag will then be included in the search. And as mentioned, in my very small knowledge base right now, it might not become a problem, as we will see in a minute. But in larger knowledge bases, it will, without having this feature in place, you will run into a lot of conflict, and the LLM will then most likely return a result which is not accurate. So we are really improving the search accuracy with this feature. Okay, let's before I talk too much, let's try it out. And see what happens. So I now ask, like, without this feature being configured, what is the cancellation policy? And the bot correctly answers the cancellation policy varies depending on the class. So for business class passengers, it's up to 6 hours. For economy passengers, it's up to 48 hours. And like as mentioned, this information is correct, but it's of course not a great user experience for me, because the bot, let's imagine the bot has the information if I'm a business class or economy class passenger, and I really want to make sure that that the bot only returns relevant information. So yeah, let's do it together. Let's first do a quick hack and write into the context that I'm a business class passenger. Oh, yeah, let's do economy. I'm flying economy. So now we have written into the context that I'm a economy class passenger, and yeah, we can really just use this information now because our source tag feature allows us to do so. So now we are adding the information that the information whether I'm a business class or economy passenger lies in context.class, and I have to press enter. And now this tag is applied to our search. And what you might have already seen earlier is that I have already added tags to the sources itself. So this economy passenger travel policy has the tag economy, and this has the tag business. This means when I now ask what is the cancellation policy, I only get back the information which is relevant to me as an economy class passenger. And this is based on the information the bot has that I'm an economy class passenger. Of course, in a real world scenario, this information that I'm an economy class passenger would not be part of the default context, but rather you would ask the customer via a question note or you would just retrieve the information via your CRM. Yeah, but like as you have seen now, with this feature, you can really make sure that you only provide relevant information to your customers, and you can avoid conflicts in the knowledge base to then really improve the search accuracy. All right, let us now look into our second highlight we have published in this quarter. To explain you why it's required, let's quickly just chat with the bot. When do I need to arrive before the departure of my domestic flight? And the answer is correct. I get the answer that that I need to arrive 2 hours prior to the departure. And then I want to ask, how about international? And the bot does not understand what I'm meaning. And this is because in case context-aware search is toggled off, if it's not activated, the search is not context-aware. The search does not have access to the ongoing conversation. Now we have added this new feature. We are toggling context-aware search on, and this means that the search is now context-aware. This means that the search considers the ongoing conversation when performing the search query. So it has access to the ongoing conversation. And now I'm asking, when do I need to arrive before my domestic flight? And I get back the correct answer. And then I ask international. And now I get back a response that, when I need to arrive for my international flights. And with that, I have a much better user experience. I really have a ChatGPT-like experience with our Knowledge AI solution. You have full control on how you want to use context-aware search, so you can decide how many transcript steps you want to include in in the search we are performing, like how aware you want to make it around the ongoing conversation. With this feature, customers can then finally ask follow-up questions. They can also correct their errors in case they are they want to correct themselves, and this is all possible because we now make the search context aware. With that, I will hand over to my colleague Dilek now, and I can only say that I'm very excited about what's coming, especially related to Knowledge AI, because we have a lot more features in the pipeline. So stay tuned for our Q1 tech update, I would say. So Dilek.
Thank you, Thomas. Hi everyone, I'm Dilek, Product Manager for Voice Gateway, and today I'm going to show you a few awesome features we have added to our Voice Gateway within this quarter. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with getting into our Voice Gateway portal, where we have added our new speech vendor DeepGram. To configure this, you need to go to Speech, add a new speech vendor, select DeepGram out of your vendor list, and enable speech to text and add your API key. If we now go back to our platform, you can add the set session config, go to recognizer settings and choose DeepGram. You will now find a few settings you can configure. You can configure the most fitting tier and model of DeepGram according to your use cases. Please note that each tier and model are connected to each other, so please ensure to first check out their tiers and models and how they're connected before you configure this. Within the model, you can choose different types according to your use case. Let's say you will need to recognize more financial terms, you can then use their finance model to ensure better recognition. The next feature we have is endpointing. You can customize the general length of time used to detect whether a speaker has finished speaking to receive the final utterance. You basically configure after how many milliseconds of no voice activity detection the final utterance should be sent. The last deep crom feature we have is smart formatting. This will basically make the transcript more humanly readable. This is great if you want to go through the transcript to understand what your customers are saying, or for use cases where you want to use AI Copilot and your agent needs to quickly understand what the customer said during the bot conversation or what the current customer utterance is. Let's quickly have a look at that. I will call my virtual voice agent and say the same utterance twice, and then we can check differences in the transcript. So let me quickly call.
Tell me something.
It's currently 5 p.m. on December 14th, 2023.
Can you repeat it?
It's currently 5 p.m. on December 14th, 2023. Okay, and as you can see now, the transcript is so much more readable. Basically, what DeepGram does is they can detect if it's a time or date to make sure to convert it to make it more readable. I have shown all of this within the set session config, but of course you can also go into your say node at the voice gateway channel, and then within the activity parameters, you can configure exactly the same. Now, let's quickly get back to our voice gateway portal, where you might have just seen the label when you added a new speech provider. And this is basically how you can add multiple credentials for one speech provider. If we now configure, as an example, another speech provider for Microsoft, you will see the label field. Let's add custom voice into it. And if we would then add the necessary keys and IDs and then save, you will see the label in your overview, and you can select the right key you would like to use either within your application or within the set session config within your flow. I have on purpose added custom voice into the label, as this might be one of your use cases where you have different API keys for the new voices and also for the recognition, but you also have another API key for your custom voice deployment. Now, as we went through the smaller features that we have added, I would say let's continue with error handling and service continuation. This feature is basically to ensure that even if some kind of error occurs, that we can still guarantee service continuation and a good customer experience. And there are multiple different ways of how you can configure this. Let's start with the option within your flow. Let's say in one point of your flow, you would like to transfer the call to another party, or you would like to do an out dial to reach a customer. You can set a transfer node, choose the dial option, and in the settings, if you scroll down, you can find answering machine detection. Once you enable answering machine detection, we will detect typical sentences of an answering machine or the beep sound. You do have a second configuration, which is to redirect the call back to voice gateway or redirect it back to the flow in case an answering machine has been detected instead of just hanging up. We now need to add a lookup node. And in here, you can choose the type, call event status. If you now check the different cases, you will see all call events, except for one call event, which is the call completed or call ended event. And I will get back to that in a second. But let's for now choose the answering machine detection event. And after that, we can just add a go-to node that will continue the flow execution. In my example, it will continue the flow execution with the callback flow. Let's now quickly check what happens. We have a customer talking to our virtual agent, and then we want to transfer him to another party. As we have enabled that the call should be continued, in case an answering machine has been detected, the call will be redirected to the flow. With the lookup node, we are checking which call event we are receiving. as we would receive the event that an answering machine has been detected, we would then continue flow execution for that case and could continue with another flow that would schedule a callback with the customer. With this feature, you can react to any kind of event that we receive during the call to ensure to have like the best customer experience for any kind of event. As I had just mentioned that the call ended or call completed event is not within the lookup node, let's have a look at that as well. Of course, you can either react to all call events within the flow, or you can directly react to them once they're received in the endpoint. Let's not forget that events will first reach the endpoint and will then be within the flow. So whatever you configure within the endpoint will come first. If we now check our voice gateway endpoint, we will see two configurations, call events and call failover. Let's first go through call events. And in here, you can find all the call events we could receive. It's up to your flow design if you would like to directly react to them within the endpoint or within the flow. The event we now want to look at is the call completed event. The reason we cannot react to this event within the flow is that once we have the call completed event, there's no further flow execution. That's when we stop flow execution. That's why we do not receive this event within the flow, as once we receive it within the endpoint, that's basically it. That's when we cut off. And if we enable the toggle for the call completed event, you will now see a new section to configure the action for this event. You can either inject text or data payload into the current flow, or you can start the execution of another flow. One good use case of how you could use this feature would be for a call wrap-up. If we select execute flow and then choose the flow we want to execute, in my case, I have called it call wrap-up, we will execute the chosen flow once we receive the call completed event. With this flow, you could then either send out an email to the customer with the transcript, or you could even store some important data within your CRM if you did not do that during flow execution. Then, of course, it can always happen that due to some kind of misconfiguration within your flow, a runtime error will be triggered, which would maybe stop the flow execution. To avoid a bad user experience in those cases, you can add some configurations within our call failover settings within the voice gateway endpoint. Here you can choose how you would like to transfer the call to another party. So you can either transfer to another bot or you can transfer to another human agent. And you can basically choose if you want to do a refer or a dial. And in case you do a dial, then we would still have some kind of a bot listening to the call and also transcribing to basically recheck what happened during the conversation with the other party, which would either, like I said, either be a bot or it would be an agent. And with those features, we can basically ensure service continuation in any case. But that's not it. As we are always working with some external parties, which are basically our speech providers, we also wanted to ensure that you can continue to have service execution, service continuation in case something happens there. So you can now configure a failover mechanism for the speech providers as well. And for this, let's get back into our voice gateway portal once again. And within your application, if you scroll down, you can now set a fallback speech provider in case your primary one fails. Of course, for this, you would need credentials for another vendor or other credentials for the same vendor that you're already using. And with all of the newly added features mentioned, you can basically guarantee service continuation no matter what happens. And this will definitely lead to a better customer experience than suddenly having a bot that just hangs up. And since we're already in the portal, we can also have a look into actually my favorite feature, which is our call tracing that we have added. So you can basically understand what is happening within your call and as well check like the latency of any speech provider that you have added. So if you go to recent calls, and then get into one of your calls and go to the tracing tab. Per default, you will always see the traces of every step of your voice call. This includes traces as like how long it took to connect the call, how long the bot output was, as well as the latency of the speech to text generation, to check how long it took the speech provider to generate the audio. Actually, it's a text to speech generation like this, to check how long the speech provider took to generate the audio for the bot output. There is more though. There's so much more, because if you have enabled our latest call recording feature, you can then scroll down within this page. And down here, you can listen to your call recording. And as you can see, we have two sound waves. The one on the top is the customer input, and the one on the bottom is the bot output. We have also extended the call recording dashboard to basically show you the latency of the speech recognition service that you're using. So here you can see the call we just made using the smart formatting feature. Let's quickly listen to that. And if I now click the overlay SCT and DTMF, I now can see my speech energy and how long I was talking, and also how long it took the speech recognizer to return a transcript. The period of time between the latency and the bot output shows how long it took us to send the transcript to the speech vendor to process it, and then generate the next prompt to do the text to speech. And with this additional feature, you can basically now trace every step of your voice bot, seeing where latencies are coming from, maybe even comparing different speech vendors to find the one that has like the best latency and also accuracy for your use cases, to basically ensure the best and most human-like virtual voice agent experience for your customers. And as I've mentioned quite a lot that you need to configure our new recording feature, in case you do not know about this new recording feature yet, let me also quickly show you how you can configure that as well. We have two different types of call recording within our voice gateway. The first one is the one where you configure it within your flow, where you can define where it should start the recording, it can pause, and it can stop the recording. And the second one is the one you will need to see the sound waves within our portal. And this can be configured within our portal itself. And it's important to notice that it cannot be controlled through the flow. So this is basically the perfect feature when you're just building your virtual voice agent and you want to use this recording for debugging purposes. Of course, you could also use this for production use cases, but please note that you cannot stop this during the flow. To configure this, you can go into your account. Once you scroll down to the call recording configuration, you can configure your own bucket like an Amazon S3 storage. And with that, you're basically totally in control of your call recordings, as this is stored in your own bucket. You can then select if you want to record all calls for this account. This would include every single application, so every endpoint you add into this account. Or if you do not select it, you can get into your application, and in there, you can enable the call recording and mark the checkbox there. And then you're good to go with the call recording and also the additional call tracing feature. Of course, we have added many more features in this quarter, but sadly we cannot show all of them within one short session. But there were a few bigger improvements like subrec support and also the native integration of all AI Copilot features into Voice Gateway. So in case you're interested in that, please feel free to scan the QR code to get to our Cognigy Sessions video, where we have an in-depth session regarding AI Copilot and also all of the integrations with our Voice Gateway. And that's it for me. But we are not done with today's session. There's still a few things that Derek would like to share with you guys. So Derek, back to you.
Thanks so much for joining today. We hope you found the information valuable. And in any case, we would love to get your feedback. As soon as the webinar ends, you'll be presented with a brief survey. Please answer it so we can learn what you want to hear more about and how we can make these sessions better. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.